It began with a single, cutting phrase that sliced through the air like a blade. Karoline Leavitt, standing tall behind the microphone, smirked as she uttered words that would ignite a storm. Go back to India. For a split second, the room froze. Silence. Disbelief. You could almost hear the collective gasp ripple through the audience. Was this really happening in America in 2025? On one side of the stage, Leavitt carried herself with arrogance, her words dripping with disdain. To her, this was more than an insult. It was a weapon meant to humiliate and belittle. She stood as the villain of this story, loud, dismissive, and unafraid to embrace division. And on the other side was Kash Patel, calm, steady, eyes fixed, posture unbroken. He didn't flinch, didn't lash out, didn't let anger control him. In that moment, he became the embodiment of dignity, a man refusing to bow to hatred. But what no one expected, what no one could expect, was how Patel would respond. His next words weren't just an answer. They were a thunderclap that shook not only the room but the entire nation, because Patel's response left America stunned. To understand the weight of that moment, we need to step back and look at who Karoline Leavitt really is. Leavitt had built her political career on being unapologetic, brash, and loud. To her supporters, she was a fighter who never held back. But to her critics, she was something far darker, a politician who thrived on sharp insults and reckless jabs, often delivered at the expense of others' dignity. This wasn't the first time her words had raised eyebrows. She had a history of doubling down, dismissing outrage as political correctness or branding critics as sensitive. But this time, it wasn't just a cutting remark. It was something uglier. Telling Kash Patel to go back to India wasn't just a personal attack, it was an attack on every immigrant, every child of immigrants, and the very foundation of what America stands for. On that stage, Leavitt wasn't just a politician anymore. She became the villain of this unfolding drama, arrogant, entitled, and blind to the damage her words carried. She believed the insult would sting, that it would reduce Patel to silence, that it would remind everyone in the room who held the power. But arrogance has a way of collapsing under its own weight, and in the seconds that followed, when all eyes turned to Patel, it became clear. The tables were about to turn. All eyes locked on Kash Patel. The insult still hung in the air like a poisonous cloud, and for a heartbeat, everyone waited. Would he snap back in anger, walk off the stage, or let the words sink in without reply? Instead, Patel did something no one expected. He straightened his posture, took a slow breath, and allowed silence to linger. That silence wasn't weakness, it was power. It forced the audience to lean in, to feel the weight of the moment. Then, in a calm yet unshakably firm voice, Patel spoke. You tell me to go back to India. Well, let me tell you something. My parents did come here from India. They came here with nothing but hope and hard work, and because of them, I stand here today, not as a foreigner, but as an American who has served this country at the highest levels of national security. The words landed like thunder. He wasn't just answering an insult, he was redefining what it meant to belong. Patel reminded everyone that his loyalty was proven not by where his family came from, but by what he had given to America. Years of service, sacrifice, and dedication. While Leavitt smirked with arrogance, Patel stood in quiet dignity. Her insult revealed her pettiness. His response revealed his strength. And in that moment, the power dynamic shifted. The audience felt it. The room tilted away from the villain and toward the hero. But Patel's reply didn't just silence the hall, it unleashed something much bigger, because once his words hit the airwaves, the entire nation would soon be talking. Patel's words didn't stay confined to that stage. Within minutes, clips of his calm but devastating response spread like wildfire across social media. Twitter feeds lit up, TikTok edits went viral, and hashtags like #TrueAmerican and #Patel response began trending nationwide. Commentators on both sides of the political spectrum were forced to weigh in. Supporters praised Patel's restraint, calling it the definition of strength under fire. Even critics who once underestimated him admitted his composure had turned a moment of insult into a moment of history. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt found herself facing a very different storm. Instead of applause, she was met with backlash. Memes flooded the internet, screenshots of her words frozen next to Patel's dignified response. Editorials described her remark as ugly, un-American, and beneath the office she seeks. The villain's mask had slipped, and the world was watching. But perhaps the most powerful ripple came from everyday Americans, immigrant families, veterans, young students who shared Patel's words across platforms, saying, "This is what America should sound like." The story was no longer about a cheap insult. It had become a defining cultural moment, a clash between arrogance and dignity, hatred and hope. And yet, even as the nation reacted, something even greater was taking shape, because Patel's response wasn't just about winning an argument. It was about reminding America of who we are. In the days that followed, the noise of politics faded, but one moment remained crystal clear: Kash Patel's calm defiance in the face of hatred. What Leavitt intended as a weapon to shame him instead became the stage upon which Patel displayed the very essence of Americanist dignity, resilience, and unshakable pride in both his roots and his service to this country. He didn't need to raise his voice or match insult with insult. By choosing calm truth over chaos, Patel proved something far greater. Strength isn't measured by volume, but by values. Across the nation, families repeated his words around dinner tables. Teachers shared his response in classrooms. Veterans nodded in recognition of a man who had given so much to the country he called home. Patel's stand reminded Americans that patriotism isn't about where you come from, it's about what you contribute and the principles you uphold. And as for Karoline Leavitt, the villain of the story was left with nothing but the echo of her own arrogance, overshadowed by the hero she tried to diminish, because in that single exchange, Patel did more than silence and insult. He gave America a reminder: true leadership is dignity under fire.